The City of Portland has reached a tentative settlement with the family of James Chasse. The total settlement amount of $1.6 million will come from the City of Portland's self-insured reserve and from our excess insurance carrier. There will be no impact on the settlement on the city's general fund. On Monday, yesterday, Chief Sizer and myself joined the settlement negotiations led by Federal Judge Ann Aiken. I believe this proposed settlement to be in the best interests of our city and our community, and it is my hope that by settling this case, we as a community can begin to heal from the tragic death of Mr. Chasse. Although nothing can ever make up for the loss of Mr. Chasse's life, his death has led us all to take a serious look at the way we as a community treat the mentally ill. And it has prompted the Portland Police Bureau to examine and improve many of its policies in an effort to improve interactions with those with mental illness and developmental disabilities. The police have already made substantial changes in its use of force policies, in its medical transport policies, and since Mr. Chasse's death, all of our street officers have undergone 40 hours of crisis intervention training. The Police Bureau will continue to make improvements, including the expansion of a pilot program that pairs mental health workers with police officers. The city itself will join with Multnomah County in opening a new mental health treatment center for those in mental health crisis, substantially filling a gap that exists in our current services. Another important aspect of this settlement will be the release of documents relating to Mr. Chasse's death, which have been under court protective order for many years. I believe the public needs to see and fully understand the events leading up to Mr. Chasse's unfortunate death. The settlement proposal will go before the City Council shortly, and it must be approved by the City Council. And I'd like to, at this point, also to once again express my deepest apologies on behalf of the city to the Chasse family and the loss of their son and brother. I know words are of little consolation, but we are truly sorry for your loss. And I'd also like to thank and acknowledge Federal Judge Ann Aiken for her role in settling this case. And finally, I'd like to thank our city attorneys, Linda Meng and Jim Rice in particular, who was a point person, and Linda Meng as well. We will, in terms of the documents released, they will be soon, but not immediately. There will have to be some redacting and things like that, of social security numbers, names, and things like that. But I'm told by our city attorney shortly. There are certain documents, health records, personnel records, perhaps some training protocols that we think are sensitive materials that will not be released. But basically, Judge Ann Aiken has agreed to be the arbiter of any dispute about whether a document should be released or not.
There are a lot of disputed facts in the case. And really what both sides looked at after over 100 depositions, we honed the case down to a much smaller case than how it originally started out. Mr. Steenson, Mr. Schneider standing behind you were on one side. Each side culled through the evidence, and I believe the case was significantly simplified down in the end when we had a chance to talk to everyone. I don't believe there's any cover-up that was ever shown by anyone in this case, although evidence can be looked at by two different people and they can come to different conclusions.
I believe that both sides in the end wanted to avoid a trial. I don't think anybody saw any interest being served by a trial. I can't speak for the family of James Chasse, but this was the settlement amount that all sides agreed to.
I believe it's the highest settlement. It is the highest one that I'm aware of. We have only got into our excess layer one time before this.
When you say excess layer, that's over $1 million? Or?
Yes.
And can you explain, from what I understand, $1 million, the city's self-insured up to $1 million?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then after that?
We have an excess insurance carrier.
I think, you know, I think nobody would win by this going to trial. And certainly the city's image probably would be tarnished. I think the need remains to be ever improving our training and our response. And Commissioner Amanda Fritz, myself, and Chief Sizer recently released a report with recommendations on how to improve the intersection of the police with those with mental illness and developmental disabilities. And among those recommendations were the one that we've quickly implemented, which is pairing mental health workers with a police officer on a pilot basis. And if that pilot proves to be successful, we hope to expand that. But we have other recommendations too, including funding the Mental Health Crisis Center in conjunction with the county, which is in the mayor's proposed budget. We've also worked on improving 911's ability to handle calls when people call in mental health crisis, to perhaps have Multnomah County's mental health crisis unit be the first responder rather than police, fire, or EMS. I'm not going to speculate about how things might have turned out differently.